Hi and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Can I get our ambulance to start at -4°C with 50% of our glow plugs being faulty? So I was watching King in It the other day, and they're in Sweden. Their campervan got so cold it didn't want to start. Well, that gave me an idea, and let me show you what I did. So I went onto Amazon, and while I was there I saw the T-piece for the air ducting, and it had got like little knobs on it that you could vary the flow of the air on it. So I went, I'll have one of them and I'll have some expandable ducting. I'll get it oversized because it's all soft mainly in it. I can put cable tie around it and ratchet it down. So diesel heater coming through a T-piece which is blanked off, going up this aluminium pipe, goes up through the thing as you've seen before, as it defrosts the actual cab, and then just goes a bit into their temporary setup. And as you see, then goes into the air intake like so. And then all I've done is disconnected at this end, put temperature probe in 57°C. That should warm the air intake up a bit. So I was a little bit concerned that the air would overpressurize and it might harm the diesel heater, but the air intake has quite a lot of holes all the way around, underneath and around, that the pressure can actually get out. And also the other thing I was concerned about was once the engine started, it would suck so much air through that air intake that it would overwhelm the diesel heater. But I didn't have to worry about that because of all the extra holes which are there. So once the engine is started, you can then just remove the ducting from the air intake and put it in the back of the van for the next cold start. So I was itching to test my theory out, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning and the windscreens are frozen solid and it's -4, so the car says. So we'll go over to the ambulance. As you can see here, our ambulance windscreen is frozen solid. In fact, the actual bonnet was actually frozen so badly it took me ages to get it to open. So I decided to turn on the diesel heater to actually defrost the windscreen and the side windows. So when I arrived at the ambulance, I'd left the genisys system on, which had drained the battery down a little bit. I hadn't left the EcoFlow on, so I turned the EcoFlow on with the charger, which gave us 5 amps of charging at 12 volts. But the only problem with that was the diesel heater requires at least 10 amps while it's starting the actual diesel heater. Once it's running, it's only running at half an amp, whichever it is. And the next thing I realised was, look at all the water vapour coming off the windscreen, evaporating into the atmosphere. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the aluminium pipe and my new hose coupled together. They're actually just slipped over one another so that I can actually push that connection apart. So when the engine starts, I can just push it apart and it can get free flow of air. So even the ambulance agrees with me there's something wrong with the glow plugs. absolutely fantastic. It started much better than it normally does. If we're under 5 degrees and heading towards 0 degrees C, I really start having trouble starting it. I do have to change the glow plugs. Any chance any of you can let me know if that's an easy job to do? Can I do it myself, or do I need to send it in? All I've got to do now is take the ducting out of the window and out of the bonnet, chuck it in the back of the van, ready for the next freezing cold start. So that was my first idea, and this is my second idea. Of course, the other idea that I had was to just put a blanket over the top of the engine so that it would catch the heat, and then just put a pipe underneath the engine bay and let the diesel heater warm the engine bay up. But the only problem is with that is if you forget the blanket is underneath the engine bay and you crank the engine, you risk tangling up that blanket in with the auxiliary belt. You can't touch that ignition key with that blanket underneath the bonnet. It's a very, very dangerous thing. But that was the other idea I had. Thanks for watching my channel. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It's completely free.